comments on the two items, excuse me, yeah, we're starting. To take comments on the final ordinance readings of ordinance 2022-02 and the reading of ordinance 2022-03. Both of these items are related to the Architectural Review Board, which are on our agenda for a final vote this evening. Since no one is signed up for that, I'm going to close the public hearing and move on with our regular agenda. So at this time, I'd like to call to order the May meeting of the Pawleys Island Town Council and welcome everybody here. The first official item on our agenda is public comments. And we've had two people that have signed up, the first of which is Henry Thomas, and then we'll hear from Betsy Altman. And just keep in mind that you've got 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, I'm Henry Thomas. I live at 181 Landis, and I'm here to talk about a meeting that I think is an opportunity that Pawleys Island has, a governance meeting. It was in the newspaper that this was an opportunity to have sort of a town hall meeting where we could all get together and discuss how we do business. And I think that the meeting's not been scheduled yet, as far as I'm aware. There was a stipulation that that meeting would take place within 6 months of the agreement. And I don't know how much time there is now, but there's not really as much time as there could have been. And to give people plenty of notice, you know, I would hope that this would be done at a time when, you know, around Memorial Day, you know, when there's a good population of property owners down here who could come in and ask questions and listen to a presentation, hopefully made by the Municipal Association. And as far as I'm aware, that meeting has not been scheduled yet, and the sooner we do it, the better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Henry. All right, next up, we've got Betsy Altman.
Hi, I'm Betsy Altman. I'm the Pawleys Island Realty. I just wanted to publicly thank Ryan for all of his years of work. Being an independent real estate company, he has been extremely professional, helpful, informative to our homeowners, the new owners that are coming in that have a lot of questions. Just keeping them informed of what's going on, the thousands of vacationers that come through here a year, and even our vendors, if they don't know what to do as far as getting, what do they need a permit for, what do they not need a permit for. I just have worked very closely with him over the years and just wanted to publicly thank him for all that he's done over the years.
Take your comments. All right, let's move on to the item 3 on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes. Copy of the minutes from our meeting on April 18th are in your packets. I'll take a motion to either amend or approve those minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of 4/18.
Second. All right, motion to approve the minutes from April 18th meeting. We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, we're going to move into item 4, reports and updates. First up is the police report from Chief Fanning.
We are in pretty good shape for the month. There were no criminal activity that we have to report. Everything was calls for service. I believe there were 10. If you look at the police report, you see the asterisk next to it. There were 10 incidents that happened after hours when the officers weren't on duty, and either Midway or the sheriff's office handled them, or Highway Patrol handled the one hit and run.
Tell us about the hit and run, Chief.
It was at first Street Beach access. It happened about just before 7 o'clock on a, I forget what day of the week it was. Anyway, Highway Patrol responded. And then when we came on duty, they actually reached out to us to see if they can get some video, which we were able to provide for them. And it gave them information so they can move forward,
Good.
apprehend or cite the person who left the scene of the accident.
Another successful camera
Yes, sir.
issue. Fantastic.
That's good. What other questions do you have for Chief Fanning?
Chief, did anybody ever look into doing the like the doorbell rings, have a program where homeowners could combine their resources?
And the last time I remember Ryan was going to reach out to the representative. I've never heard any more of it. We're still working on the cameras for the other 2 locations that were approved last month, 2 months ago. I'd gone on vacation for about a week and a half, and then Ryan was out for another week or so. So we had a couple calls with the Santee Cooper about getting the cameras on their poles, and we spoke to Ryan about it yesterday, and we're waiting on a call back from them.
Equipment's available now?
Yes,
Good.
but it looks like we're gonna need to install some meters. So we have to get in touch with the electrician and get it all coordinated.
Gotcha.
Good deal. What other questions for Chief? Any? All right, next up, we have the building report. Ryan normally does that, but I'll just give a quick update on that. There are 5 active permits in the town. Those are listed in your packets. There's also a copy of each one of the permits is included. Any questions or updates or thoughts about those permits? All right, hearing none, we'll move over to the financial report. I don't see a copy of that in my packet. Does anybody else have a copy of the financial report?
I don't.
Does anybody recall seeing a copy of that in the
I'll tell you.
Dropbox link that we received?
I've got the Dropbox right here. Ordinance. No, it was not in there.
Okay. I don't know how we can discuss it since none of us have seen it, so.
Yeah. It wasn't in the information we received.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to item 5A, which is final reading of ordinance 2022-02 and ordinance amending section 3-2.2 of the town's unified development code related to minimum roof pitch. This is the 3rd time that this item has been on our agenda. First time 2 months ago was for discussion. Last month, we reviewed this item as part of the first reading. This basically relaxes the requirement for roof pitch for ancillary roofs as part of the ARB modifications, 1 of 2 that we're considering tonight.
Mayor, I can't hear you very well back here. Would you
Okay, sure.
face this?
Absolutely. The meeting is here, and I'll do my best to speak at a volume you can hear. So any questions or thoughts or motions about that item?
I'm happy to make a motion on the approval of the first reading. Well, actually, the approval of the ordinance 2022-02.
I'll second it.
All right, a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Right. Next item on the agenda is a final reading of ordinance 2022-03 and ordinance amending Article 12 of the town's unified development code related to architectural review board. A copy of that ordinance is in your packets. This particular ordinance.
It's you. Sorry.
Wow.
Stop this.
Turn your volume down. As you recall, we discussed this one twice as well. This is the final reading. This is related to the pre-design conference that is done when the application and the permit is initially applied for, to have an architect appointed by the ARB review the plans along with the engineer or architect from the applicant. And it also is related to the ARB basically not being hard and fast to the ordinance, but looking at the totality of the design guidelines that are required or that are specified in the design document. So have any questions or thoughts on that one?
My only question, the same question I had last time, talking about like David Lane. He doesn't use an architect. He is an architect. He's a builder. I assume he uses engineering. So I think the language we'd use one other time was, what was it? Does not, I can't remember, it was like professional, it was something, it was a different language in that ordinance.
I think, didn't they go back and make that change for
David's
us?
an architect,
No, he's not. That's what I'm saying.
but he's not an engineer, is he?
Right.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, but
A licensed builder.
Some,
I thought they made that change for us. I'm looking for it. Because I remember you saying that before, and somebody said, yeah, we'll
maybe
change that.
design professional or something like that.
Exactly.
That's what was in there before, and they changed that to require a professional.
Here's what it says, the applicant and an applicant's architect or engineer are required to attend a pre-design meeting. So it's
Yeah, but David's not either one of them.
not either one.
No,
He does have to get an engineer to sign off on his plans, but I don't, so, just a concern.
What would be the word you think would work?
I don't know, or maybe you have three in there. And then put design,
Architect, engineer, or builder?
maybe, yeah. Something
I
like
think
it might be too
the
vague.
intent of the ARB was to have a professionally licensed architect or engineer to make sure that up front, all of the nuances were taken care of, because even though David's built a lot of houses here, I think the ARB had some issue with just allowing a builder with pre-made plans to just submit it and
Yeah.
and have that. We can table this one and do it next month if y'all want to get clarification. I thought John Hildreth was going to be here, or John Lemaster, but they could probably clarify that.
I would hate to exclude him, from, make it harder for him to build here.
Yeah.
Been building here for a generation.
I agree. Well, hey, we can amend this ordinance any way we see fit.
There's nothing time critical about it. So I don't mean to wait till next meeting, I think.
Don't want to do that? Yes. Don't want to table it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's do that. Item 5C, discussion and consideration of giving mayor administrative, and I'm going to make a change to the agenda, administrative access. I don't want control over town social media and bulk email platforms. And essentially, this item is intended to make sure that it's not just one person for the town that has access to email programs, social media, et cetera. In case of an emergency, we tend to need more than one person that has user IDs and passwords to get communication out to the property owners, the residents, et cetera, just for emergency circumstances, if nothing else. So that's where this item came from. Happy to discuss it.
and you were changing the agenda, how?
I'm just saying that I was clarifying that in item C, it says discussion and consideration of giving Mayor Henry administrative control. I'm not asking for control. I think I need access to be able to not only get into social media platforms or bulk email programs, because when Ryan was out for over a week, and if I needed to communicate, he was the only one that had user ID and passwords for those programs. So I want to make sure that we're not in a situation where we can't communicate.
I think you should have access to that. I'm in favor.
I am too. I want the chief to have it too. That way we have another backup. You got to have that access.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea at all.
I don't,
Go ahead.
I'm concerned over the control over, just because of past social media posts brought the NAACP here.
Okay.
I think what you're saying is taking the word control out and instead adding
We have
access.
to amend the agenda for that to happen.
That's not true. That's not true.
We can amend it right now, I think.
Just like, this is not an ordinance. This is not a resolution. This is the agenda. We can
Change the agenda, we have to vote on it.
I'm just changing a word. I'm asking for access to,
Ross?
I would kind of agree with Mayor Henry. I mean, if it was a reading of an actual ordinance or a law, I think it would make a difference. This is just related to a discussion and no final, order is being.
We're not going to vote on this then?
I mean, were y'all planning to vote on it?
Are we voting on this?
we should vote on it.
But we can double check, and if we feel the need, we can go back and add an amendment to the schedule later on, if we feel like we need to edit it and send it back out.
This, honestly, this addition was something I wanted added to the agenda, but the final agenda version of the agenda was never sent to me. I would have not said control, because listen, we all should have the user ID and password of our email programs, but there needs to be a protocol for who communicates, who and how communicates. To say that one person only can send out emails, access Dropbox, access social media, to me, is,
But I think that's the whole point, so that not each of us can go on the social media and post
that's what I'm
whatever we
saying,
want.
is that for one person to say, I'm the only one who can post or send, why should the mayor have to go through a filter to communicate with the property owners on the island? I think the property owners would like to hear from me. And if Ryan is unavailable and I need to get a message out, why should I have to wait or be unable to communicate because I don't have the user ID and password? Does that make sense to
Yeah, I mean,
anybody else?
Obviously, it does.
Hey,
I think you were elected as the mouthpiece for the town, and I think people expect to hear from you. If you can't do that, then you can't do your job, in my opinion.
What other comments? Before we vote on it.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to provide myself administrative access to the town social media and bulk email platforms. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No,
All right, at this time, we're going to move into executive session pursuant to FOIA. We're going to discuss employment, appointment, compensation, promotion, demotion, discipline, or release of an employee. But before we do that, we will need a motion to move to executive session to discuss that item.
So moved.
A motion second. All in favor, say aye. At this time, we need to clear the room just for town council.
Thanks, everybody.
And we will come back and have comments by council and adjourn.